comes to mind when you think of darkness? When I was a child, darkness was scary, a place of dangerous unknowns. And even now, the first things darkness brings to mind are bad things. Dark days are foreboding, dark thoughts are sinister, dark events are evil. But can darkness also hold treasures? Is there a way that we can find goodness in darkness? In this series, Barbara Brown Taylor, best-selling author, professor, and a wise spiritual guide, will walk us through a new exploration of darkness, inspired by a time in her life she spent inside the cloudy evening of a soul.
Learning to walk in the dark cannot be rushed, no matter how badly you want to get where you're going. Step 1 is to give up running the show. Next, you sign the waiver that allows you to bump into some things that may frighten you at first. Finally, you ask darkness to teach you what you need to know.
I'm Matt Bloom, a co-founder of Ritual, and I'll be your guide through this series. If you're going through a moment of darkness in your own life, and you're struggling to see in the dark, hoping for that light to show up at the end of the tunnel, then I invite you to join me and Barbara in this Ritual series. During each session, Barbara and I will guide you through a series of reflections that will help you engage with darkness in positive ways. At the end of each session, I'll leave you with a sustaining practice, something that can help you take the practice into your daily life. I'm Matt Bloom, inviting you to join Barbara and me in this new Ritual series on the treasures of darkness.
I cannot remember the last time I heard anyone use the word dark to describe something good. Fear of the dark has been sanctified in so many people's minds. It's as if they have a default setting for darkness in their minds that automatically resets every time the sun comes up. In the full light of day, darkness becomes the most convenient place for them to store all their shadows, their fear of the unknown, their anxiety about the future, their loathing of their own helplessness, their bottomless dread of death.
Does this resonate with you? What comes to mind when you think of the word darkness? How many of your thoughts are gloomy, bleak, or dreary? In this first session, Barbara will help us work toward reimagining our perception of the dark. We'll start by taking stock of our conventional understandings of darkness. For some of us, it might be a literal darkness, the absence of light or some sort of temporary blindness. And for others of us, it will be a metaphorical darkness, a dark time in our life or a dark event that we're trying to shape. And we'll examine our thoughts and experiences of darkness that are usually foreboding, scary, or dangerous. So what feelings, what physical sensations arise when you think about the dark? Let's hear from Barbara. She describes how it wasn't until her physical relationship with darkness changed that she started questioning her default perception of it.
My physical relationship with darkness changed when I moved from the city to the country. I quickly became curious about the ways in which that would influence my emotional, psychological, spiritual experience of the dark as well. I found there was a lot less to be afraid of here and a lot less conditioning to be afraid here. So that automatically locking doors, security lights, looking over my shoulder when I walked, lots of learned behavior changed when I moved to the country. And indeed, it quickly lowered my defenses about spiritually unknown places, to the point that I began to experience darkness as comforting and luminous and inviting, and quickly went from that into a reluctance to use darkness as some kind of sticky catch-all for everything negative. Because it occurred to me I had used dark as shorthand for everything scary, threatening, at both the bodily and psychological and spiritual levels. And as I tested that default setting in a new physical setting, it wasn't true anymore.
Not all of us can move away to a remote place in the middle of nowhere, safe from the bustle and stress of our daily grind. So you might be wondering, how then can we begin to change our physical relationship to darkness? Well, one good way to do this is to create that sanctuary right here and now, wherever we happen to be. Barbara suggests we start by questioning our impulsive reactions to darkness.
I think it is extremely helpful to do your own archaeology on the word, experience, and concept of darkness. I started thinking about, first of all, the biological default setting. I mean, darkness is dangerous. And when I step out into pitch blackness, there's a natural part of me that's going to say, slow down, stop, figure out where you are. Then I thought about all the conditioning I've gotten through books and through movies and television shows, and the visual and literary conditioning and religious conditioning I have gotten to believe darkness is bad without anybody asking me what I mean by that.
Can you think of where your association of something bad or frightening with the idea of darkness came from? I remember several childhood experiences of waking up in the dark of night and feeling completely separated from my family. I don't remember being afraid of monsters, but I do remember being terrified of being alone. And I've been shaped by the way our culture treats darkness. Bad events in movies and books almost always take place in the dark. And people have always warned me, whenever I encounter a shadowy dark place on a street or in a building, something dangerous might be there. Barbara's inviting us to stop and think. Is it the darkness itself that we find dangerous?
And it becomes impossible to police my language entirely, but because I love words, I'm willing to work harder at choosing my words before I just launch with the first one that comes to mind, and I'm going to resist the cultural conditioning as best I can. I think to do an archaeology of how did the word come to mean what it means for you. If you had a file folder in your file cabinet labeled dark, darkness, what's in it? And why is that in there?
Let's take a moment to reflect on the exercise Barbara just shared. Imagine that folder labeled darkness. What do you find inside of it? And why are those things in that folder?
And now make a list of wonderful experiences of dark, whether it's shooting stars or campfires or your first kiss or a night walk. What incredible things have happened in the dark, and why aren't they in that file?
Let's take a moment to reflect on Barbara's question. Imagine the folder labeled darkness once again. But what wonderful memories of darkness can you put inside of it? The important idea that Barbara is raising for us to consider is that darkness, as well as light, is a natural part of our existence. If we take a moment to question our conditioning that equates darkness with undesirable and frightening things, then we can start to imagine a new relationship with darkness in our lives.
If darkness really does bring such phantoms out of hiding, I think that's because the bright distractions of daytime have come to their natural end. When the sun goes down, it's time for another natural thing to happen. As the slower, quieter, and more tactile rhythms of nighttime open doors that remain shut during the day. No doubt there are frightening things behind some of those doors, but there are also stunning things. Eventually, with some practice, one learns that all these doors open on the same room.
As Barbara said, eventually with some practice, one learns that all these doors open onto the same room. Let's keep that quote close to our heart in the days ahead. Before we go, I want to leave you with a sustaining practice that can help you take this session forward and enrich your new experience with the darkness. Here's how it works. Find a time you can go outside or look out a window for about an hour. Check the sunset time in your local area and begin your watch about 30 minutes before the moment of complete sunset and continue for about 30 minutes after. During this time, notice how visible objects transform as the light and dark shift. Take note of what's happening around you. See the shifting patterns of light and dark, where the shadows emerge, how they change, and how they enhance what you see. You might name the colors you see, or describe briefly how the sky or clouds or objects in your view change. And as your watchful time ends, welcome the night. Take a moment to receive the opportunity for quiet and rest that the night can bring.